friends, my name is AJ and welcome back to my book nook. Today we are going to talk about something that has been bothering me for a little bit, so I decided that I would really get down and start thinking about it, really see if I could find anything about why this is happening, and yeah, I want to talk about it today. Today I want to talk about the way that books are promoted, both just in general, especially with the rise of TikTok and the way books are being promoted there, as well as books being promoted almost falsely. I've noticed a bit of a trend recently where books will be promoted as one thing and actually be more of something else. I think the best example of this I can give is a book that I have read previously on the channel, and that is Daughter of the Pirate King. Now, this book is promoted primarily as a pirate adventure, sort of female Jack Sparrow story, with a bit of a subplot of a romance between the main character Alosa and the first mate. However, if you actually read the book, you'll find that the romance sort of takes center stage while the pirate story is sort of the subplot and background, providing the background for the love story that is happening. And as a book, it's not a bad book. It's just I sort of wish that it had been promoted in a more accurate way. Now, this isn't something new. Books have been long promoted in a way that is not incredibly accurate. I think a really good example of this is The Hunger Games. The Hunger Games is a story about rebellion. It's a story about these harsh, horrible things that are happening to these people because of things that the government is doing. And it's a heavy book. But when the movies were coming out and when people were promoting them, it was primarily promoted as sort of this, oh, look at this love triangle, while completely ignoring the more political sides of the book. And this isn't the only book that this happens for. There are a lot of books out there that have rather heavy topics that are really hard to stomach, but are promoted more so based on the love triangle or the love story that takes place in them as a subplot. And I think there is a very clear reason as to why that is. It is hard to stomach those hard political topics, and promoting them using those reasons is not going to appeal to everyone. By promoting something like the love triangle side of the story, that makes it a lot easier to market. More people are going to want to see it, more people are going to become affected by that, and pretty much everyone can enjoy a love story, even if the rest of the story is not something that they are truly in love with. It's easier to promote the love because everyone loves love. Not everyone is so keen on revolution. When talking about dystopian novels like this and the political side of them being ignored, it always brings me back to something that one of my English teachers used to say, which was, dystopian novels are not about writing what is going to happen in the future. It's about writing about what is happening now. And some of the worst dystopian novels that you see are the people who don't understand that. The people who think, oh, I'm gonna write about, oh, what if this happened in the future, without making any sort of commentary on what is currently happening. And that is what we see with The Hunger Games. You know, obviously we don't see, you know, people watching children fight to the death for entertainment, but we definitely see sort of people suffering being entertainment, or, you know, people being used and abused by the system. We definitely see sort of those similar things, among other things that happen in The Hunger Games as well. And that's a hard thing to wrap your head around if you're gonna try and promote it like that. But promoting it with the love story, that's a little bit different. Okay, so that makes a little bit of sense, and especially when you consider that romance novels are one of the top genres, always have been, especially in present day. Let's talk a little bit about Daughter of the Pirate King. Before we dive into this, actually, I do want to give a little disclaimer. I do not want you to think that I am blaming the author for this. I think for her debut novel, it was quite well done. I think for what it is, it was quite well done. And honestly, I doubt that she had a lot of control over how she was told to promote the book. It was probably the publishers and her agent who told her that she should be doing it in the more adventure side. And if you look at her more present day promotion of the novel, she definitely focuses a lot more on the romance side of it, which I think is a lot more accurate to what the book really is. So I do think that it's not entirely her fault, and so no one go and blame her for this. It's very well done. I just want to get that out of the way. So we've talked about how romance is the most popular genre. However, these romance-centered books are being promoted as something else. Why is that? Why would you think I'm gonna take the most popular genre and then advertise it as something else? I have a couple of theories as to why that is. The first one is that because romance is so popular, there are so many young adult and new adult romances that you need something to make your story stick out. Now, maybe that is being a pirate story, maybe that's having a fantasy aspect to it. Whatever it is, if you have that one specific thing that makes your book stand out from all the other romances, that's the thing that they're going to want to focus on. Because let's face it, publishers, their job is to make money. They do not necessarily care if it's slightly misleading, because let's be real, all trailers for movies and TV shows and everything is slightly misleading because they want you to watch or consume their content. I think we're also seeing a big shift in the genres that are read. I think we're seeing a shift towards fantasy being more and more popular. And I know that fantasy has always been popular, and a lot of people are gonna be like, what are you talking about? Some of the most famous, fantasy books were written in like 1930 or whatever. And I get that. However, let me explain what I mean. Back in the early 2010s, the main focus of young adult novels were primarily dystopian novels, things with a lot of adventure, a lot of rebellion. And now, in the late 2010s, early 2020s, what we're seeing is more fantasy. You can really not go far on BookTok without seeing something that is written by Sarah J. Maas or The Cruel Prince or some sort of fantasy romance with fae and men with wings and a tail, and I don't know why that's attractive. I gotta be honest, that just sounds like a flying squirrel, but to each their own. And then you look at the sort of visual media that people are consuming now. Shows like The Witcher, Shadow and Bone, and even more recently, Wednesday. These shows that have these big fantasy aspects which are really dominating the charts and are really dominating our screens. We are seeing a shift towards fantasy. And I wish I could tell you why that was. I don't, but this is just something that I've observed over the past few years, that fantasy is becoming more and more popular. So, as we can see, if a book is in the most popular genre, which by extension would be the most saturated genre, you're going to want to promote it using something that makes it special. And if you're something that makes it special aligns with something that is on the up and up in popularity, i.e. fantasy, it makes sense that publishers whose main goal is to try and make money would use that to promote their very unique romance, who is also a fantasy. It also lines up a lot with the way that we're seeing social media impacting marketing of novels and writing. I have seen a lot of people complaining about the way that BookTok promotes books. And the three main things that you see is you see a lot of out of context quotes, you see a lot of focus on tropes and cliches and sort of which romance tropes are in this book, and you also see a lot of focus on aesthetic of the novel over promoting what the story is. Now, I cannot complain on these because not that long ago, I posted a reel on Instagram promoting my current work in progress, which I'm hoping to be publishing. I did a very similar thing. It was mainly focused on sort of the very quick aspects of quick tropes and basic storylines to promote it. And there is a problem if you're focusing on creating an aesthetic over writing a story, because if you're focusing on making the book have a certain vibe to it, the story is going to be lacking. However, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong about the way that TikTok promotes books. Now, let's think about this. TikTok is a short form. You only have maybe 15 seconds to a minute depending on how long you make the video. And you have even less than that based on how long people keep their attention on each short video. So you have to try and get your point across as quickly as possible. So what are you going to want to tell people? Well, you're going to want to tell them the basics of your story. You're going to want to tell them what makes your story unique and stand out against other stories that have a similar storyline. Maybe you might even want to tell people about another book that is similar that they may have read and may then like your book because of that. And the thing is that is basically just an elevator pitch. That's pretty much the exact same way that TV series are pitched to networks. You tell them, this is what my basic storyline is. This is a show that you may have watched that is pretty similar to it, but this is what makes mine different from this other one I'm comparing it to. And for the most part, the people who post things like showing you the aesthetic of my book, they are usually not just posting that. They're posting a lot of reels, some of which are focusing more on the storyline, some of which are focusing on characters, some of which are focusing on the overall aesthetic and vibe of the book. And that's fine because they are showing these different aspects. Now for the out of context quotes, and in some cases, as I've seen some people complain on certain books, quotes that aren't even in the novel, that is actually fairly close to what we see in movie trailers, where you pick what you consider to be the best moments in your book that don't spoil anything and show them to people out of context to get them to read it and pique their interest. There's really no way you can be mad at those people unless you're also going to be mad at every single movie studio ever, because that's how everyone promotes everything. I don't have a defense for the quotes that aren't even in the novel. I would say maybe those were in it at one point, but then after the video was posted, maybe they were edited out. But for the most part, I don't really have a defense for that. That does just seem misleading. But overall, the way that TikTok promotes books is really not that different than the way we promote anything or the way that we pitch any sort of media. And I think that to act like it's bad just because it's the way that TikTok does it is a really foolish way of looking at things. And as for the way things are promoted inaccurately, it kind of makes sense the more you think about it, the more you realize that publishing and marketing is all about getting people to look at your content, about making money. It's about piquing interest. And sometimes that means posting things that aren't necessarily the most in context that makes sense. I personally don't agree with it, and for my current book that I am promoting, I will be trying to do that as accurately as possible. If I ever end up promoting any future books on my Instagram, I will also try to promote them as accurately as possible. However, I can understand why they are being promoted in the other way. Anyway, but that is it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different from what I normally do, but I'm hoping that we're gonna make this shift to more of these video essay style videos this year. Let me know in the comments below, what are your thoughts on this? How do you feel about the way BookTok has influenced the promotion of books, as well as how you feel about books that are promoted as one thing, but really have more of a heavy storyline in another genre. I'd love to hear all your thoughts, and if you like this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button and stick around so you can be notified when I put out my next one. But that is it for me today. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see all of you lovely people in the next video. Bye!